Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald in Decatur, near the shores of Lake Decatur, in the front yard of Dan Keil. Now, this didn't like other front yards you've seen. This is 3 beds of roses in here because Dan Keil is a master gardener, a master rosarian, the founder of the Stephen Decatur Rose Society, and winner of multiple state and county fair championships for his rose growing expertise. And Dan, I tell you, we wanted to do this sometime in early June, which is what we picked because we thought, well, they're going to be spectacular, and they are, aren't they?
They definitely are. All this rain has really helped them out this year.
Yeah, but I bet your neighbors love you because at the end of this cul-de-sac, they've sort of this focal point of color in the front yard, and you don't see rose beds in the front yard very often.
It's starting to catch because our next door neighbor right over here has planted some roses.
Is that right?
And then the neighbor over on the other side has planted a rose bush because I've got in.
You made him feel all guilty.
I guess so, yeah.
You've been growing roses for a long time. I think you told me with your dad like for 50 years.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because I can remember my dad going to the greenhouse and buying roses. Mm-hmm. And we always had our pictures taken in front of this great big climbing rose bush. It was a red one. Mm-hmm. And then he had roses along the south side of the house, so I still remember that.
So that started your love affair with roses?
As soon as I got my first home, I had my first rose garden.
And so you started your rose garden, and that would have been about 35 years ago.
Yeah, approximately.
Yeah. And became a master gardener, what, 35 or 40 years ago, huh?
1979.
One of the first ones in the state.
Very first class.
I'll be darned. Isn't that terrific? Well, we're going to spend a lot of time on roses because I don't know, and bear with me, I don't know anything about roses. Most of our viewers probably know more than I do. So you got to start from the beginning with us, okay?
I can do that.
Okay.
Roses 101.
Okay. Now, can we start with this bed right
here?
Sure. It's gorgeous. What's different? What's characteristic of this bed?
Okay, all these roses in this bed, with the exception of maybe one plant, are all what's called hybrid teas. And the hybrid tea throws nice, long, single blooms. Mm-hmm.
And they're like any color you can imagine, aren't they?
They have every color in the rainbow except for blue, which is not in the genus of Rosa, or black. Okay. There are some awful dark black ones that will look black, but they're not actually black.
Yeah, they're probably a purplish, kind of a purplish
or
color?
a dark red with black edges on it.
But so there's no blue and there's no black. But and do tea roses, do they generally get tall?
Yes, when fall gets here, these roses will be 6 foot tall.
Wow, okay.
I fertilize them every single week.
And do they continue to bloom all year long? Or I mean, not all year, not in the winter, of course, but when the weather's not, look at this one.
They will bloom. Well, they just started blooming last week a little bit, and as the weather keeps getting warmer and we get away from the rain, they're going to explode with color. Some of my beds are so far behind because I couldn't get through the water to prune them.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, you see, every one of these roses was pruned down to the ground this year.
You do that every winter?
Usually, but last year, because we had such a mild winter, I just had to take just a very little bit off of them because the canes are all green.
You mean, let's take this one for instance. How tall would you let this one go in the wintertime?
I'll keep it about the same height. What I'll do is cut them all down to about 4 foot so they don't whip in the wind.
Do you cover them then?
Yes. This material that you see on the ground is my winter mulch as well. I just bury the plants with it.
Okay. Then sometimes you get to a real huge dramatic one like this.
And smell that one, Mark.
Well, you know, it's not real strong, but it's delicious.
It's Dolly Parton.
Well, I wouldn't know what that smells like, but that's a Dolly Parton, huh? I'll be darned.
That's an orange red, and it's a very popular rose, because of its fragrance. Because unfortunately, not all the roses in rose smell good. The old ones did, but as they're breeding them, they're losing the smell.
Is that right?
So I kind of look for ones that smell good, because you cannot beat the fragrance of a rose. Of course, the rose is the national floral emblem of the United States, and it's the queen of flowers, of any kind of flower.
Yeah, well, and that's I mean, they're crazy about them in England too, aren't they?
Oh,
and I
yes.
assume
they
in
grow
other
them
parts
all
of Europe
over the
as
world,
well.
even down in New Zealand.
Let's come on this side of this
Okay.
bed so we can get a good look at it. How is this one different than the we just saw the tea roses?
You take a step down from the big ones. These are called Mini-flora roses. And it's a new class that got started probably the last 30 years. And the breeders were breeding roses, and all of a sudden they get a great big one.
Look at this yellow one.
Yeah.
Oh,
they
my
get a
goodness.
great big one, and that's got good form to it.
Yes, it
But
does.
they're looking for miniatures. That's what people want. So they took these and threw them on the greenhouse floor. So I can't imagine what fabulous roses got thrown away. But there's one grower who decided to market a big one. And it caught on, and people have been growing them ever since. And mini-floras are my favorite in the roses.
Small plants, big flowers? Is that what we're talking about?
Big plants, big flowers.
Big plants, big flowers. Okay, all right. And multiple.
This one here will be this tall by fall.
And many times you get these multiple, you get these clusters,
Yes.
right? Okay, well, that'll have 4 blooms on it in no time. You can see they're
Oh,
dying
yeah.
to open right now.
And if you want a single bloom mark, all you got to do is just remove this side growth, like this.
Oh, don't do that. Oh, I hate to see you do that.
Well,
Really? And then will that improve?
and then that'll be a bigger flower.
Oh, okay. All right. Puts all its juice into that one bud then.
Yeah.
Terrific.
Or like over here. See this one starting to bloom first?
Yeah.
Snap that blossom off, and then the spray can fill out.
Okay, let's look over at this bed here.
Okay.
And let's start at the top again like we did.
All right.
What's different about this bed?
This all the same. These are all mini-flora roses.
Oh, okay. So those 2 beds are the same. And how did you choose? I mean, did you choose which ones went into this bed for a specific reason? Or
I
did you
look on the American Rose Society site, and they have a magazine that lists what's winning across the United States. And they have a list of the top 10 best mini-flora roses or miniatures or hybrid teas or whatever, and I look at that. And if I don't have it, I get it.
Okay, so you want the winners.
I like to have the winners. I mean, if you're going to grow roses, you might as well grow good roses. Because when I first started out, I grew what was called garden roses. They put out a lot of color, but there's no form to them at all. And I'm competitive in nature, and I go to rose shows, and those roses just don't make it.
Yeah.
So I dug a lot of roses out and started replacing them with roses that would go to a rose show, and I could go to any rose in my garden on a particular day and cut a rose and it go to a show.
Well, speaking of shows, in this program we're gonna brag on you a little bit.
Oh.
Because we're gonna we're gonna show these because you have some very very memorable awards that you have won. We're going to talk about those. You still have some of the plants that you won the awards with.
Yes, I do.
We're going to show how you take cuttings of roses. We're going to show how you keep them cold, how you keep them, for shows, how you enter them. And before you know it, we'll know everything there is that
I
to know
hope
about
so.
it. As much as you know. We'll know as much as you know. Okay. Thank you, Dan. Dan, we were talking about your interest in roses and how far back they go. This is a cute picture. It's you as a Boy Scout or Cub Scout, I'm not sure.
Boy Scout.
Boy Scout, standing next to your dad's plants, right?
Uh-huh.
That's terrific. You loved them even then, huh?
Yes, I have. Because I can remember going to a greenhouse.
Oh, neat. That's
My
neat.
dad getting roses, so.
And then you took it so seriously. Boy, did you ever take it seriously? Here's you at the state fair with your grand champion rose, right?
And
that's
the
the white
reserve
one,
champion.
right? And the reserve champion is the corner, and the pink one in the corner. And with the governor's cup or the governor's grand champion trophy, it's terrific. And what a great honor. And not only that, but this weighs about 25 pounds, and it's
Yes.
full of ribbons. Just ribbons.
That
Here's
dates
another
back to the
Illinois State Fair
1990s
champion.
somewhere. But Mark, there was a time where I could go to a rose show, and I'd be sitting there looking at all the big roses on the head table,
Yeah.
and my roses weren't good enough to get there. And finally, I got to that point.
You turn it around.
Uh-huh.
You turn it around. We mentioned that grand champion rose. Let's walk over here and take a look at it. If you would, Dan, walk in there for me. I don't want to take all the room up in there, but show us a little bit some of the blooms on there.
Well, that is it, and it's called, I forget the name of it. I've got so many roses. Moon Dance.
Uh-huh.
Moon Dance is called.
Oh, it's beautiful. And that has that cluster of blooms, which makes it a what?
It makes it a floribunda.
Floribunda, okay. All right. And what do you think they saw in that was so perfect?
They probably saw perfection.
What are they looking for?
Well, they're looking for nice, clean foliage. You have to, because I've got this white stuff that's on the foliage, and that's fungicide to stop the black spot. And they look at how long and straight the stem is, but they look at the bloom itself, and if it's really, say I'd take this middle one out, and then that would fill in a lot better.
And when you picked that last one, did you know, I mean, did you have that strong feeling that this is the winner?
You don't know. You just stick them in because you're only got 4 hours, and I put in 150 roses in the show. So you just hope that one of the roses that you put on the table is a winner.
Here's a variety we haven't seen yet. I don't think anyway.
That is called a micro mini, and that's the tallest that plant will ever get. Let me stick my hand on here, and you can get an idea of scope and size. See there?
That's as tall as it'll get.
That's as tall as it'll get.
That's loaded.
And then
with
the one
blooms.
right back here is also a micro mini, and it's got the tiny little foliage versus a regular miniature. It's got the bigger foliage here.
And these are all miniatures right in this section of the garden, huh?
And then over here in the corner are miniature climbers.
Is that these are the tall ones here? Okay, the miniature climbers. All right. So of course you want to have a fence for them.
And there must be 400, 500 blooms on that right now.
And then look just below it here, Dan. Look at this. Look at this one here. Now that is really uncommon. Is orange and yellow? Is that uncommon, or it's just me?
No, it's
beautiful.
Whatever coloration they get, and you know the growers, they like the more vivid colors instead of a kind of a bland type rose because they sell better. People make a lot of comments about the color of that.
Now let's take a look at some of these leaves here, because this looks like it's got some discoloration
Yes,
here.
with this, see, it fell off already.
Yeah.
With this weather the way it's been, we've had probably close to 20 inches of 20 inches of rain since 1st of March, and that's called black spot. It's a fungal disease, and it starts at the bottom of the plant, and it works its way up. And that's why you see the spray residue on the leaves, because I'm trying to stop it.
Oh, you're trying to get rid of that, okay.
Yeah.
But you can see you've lost some leaves
already.
already.
Because it started as a spot, and there's a spot, I see one on a leaf right there. See it?
Yep.
And then it will start getting bigger and bigger, and then these yellow leaves will drop off. See, they're down at the bottom of the plant. And then it starts spreading up the plant unless you get it stopped.
Yeah, and you can do that with spray though.
Yeah,
okay, and it's like a fungicide.
Yes, it's a fungicide. It's a fungal disease. Now I'm going to take this cutting right here. I'll take a nice long stem, and then we'll go over here.
Okay. Now what we're demonstrating here is how you start a new bush.
Yes.
Okay.
This is called a softwood cutting. The first thing I'm going to do is sacrifice that little bloom. Then I'm going to strip the bottom leaf.
I can't believe you do
and
this
try
without
to
gloves.
try to avoid the thorns, because as you can see, they're dangerous.
They are. That's why I don't grow roses. They just kill you.
Well, I've got plenty of thorn marks on me,
yeah.
I tell you. And then, I hit one of those thorns. I'm going to, where that bottom set of leaves was, I'm going to take it off right there.
Okay.
And then I'm going to take a blade and try it, because that's awful tiny, and split it just a little bit.
Does
like
that let water in? Is that what that
Well,
does?
I'm going to put it in water right now, but then I'm going to use rooting hormone. So that's good enough right now.
And this other one that's in there, he's going to get the same treatment, isn't
Yeah,
he? Okay.
he will. I'll just do this one. And see, it's covered in rooting hormone.
Right.
And then take my trowel in my little portable greenhouse, and this is just a pop bottle that I painted just so it's opaque, so the direct
You don't
sunlight
want the
doesn't
sun
come
to
in
go
on
through.
it.
Okay.
And then I'll pick a spot, and I think this is a good enough spot right here. So I'll rake away the mulch, and I'll dig in here and loosen this up a little bit.
And this may be the spot where you want this plant to stay forever, or you may want to get it started and then dig it up later, right?
Or I may give it to somebody. I'll get it started and give it to somebody. Then I'll take it and put it in the ground, kind of pat the dirt around it, and then I take my little portable greenhouse
And kind of screw that in
and
around
screw it
huh?
in around.
Okay,
and
so it's
then
not going anywhere.
The ground is pretty wet, so I'm not going to have to do anything about watering it. And then I'll put a label on that.
How
what
long?
the variety is, so I don't forget it.
Yeah, how long will that stay there?
Probably a year.
Oh, and it'll get a good solid root system then, huh?
Let me show you what I've just took a jug off.
Okay.
I'll go this way.
And these are your greenhouses,
This
huh?
one right here.
Okay.
I just took the jug off this year. That's from last year.
Oh,
And then this plant right here.
this big one here?
Yeah, that's also moonstone. It's like that white one we just saw a little while ago.
Yeah.
And that's 2 years old.
Wow, they grow fast. And this one down here, this is another yearling
That's
right here?
another one that just got the jug off this year.
Wow. Okay, so they have a pretty good mature root system by
Yes,
then.
they'll have a pretty good root system.
And you can
on
either
them.
leave them or you can move them.
Whatever I want to do with them.
And these, what's going on back here? These are
These
just
are cuttings that I just took from a rose show. I was in Belleville Saturday, and I don't know if we can see anything in here or not. Yeah, there it is.
Oh yeah. Okay, how's it look? Healthy?
Yeah, it's doing great.
How long
As
will you
long as
leave
it's
that one in
green,
there?
It's good.
Leave them for a year and then
I'm going to leave it probably for a year and see what it does in the spring. But I make sure that the roses have. I'll fill that jug up full of water once a week.
and it just soaks down.
Yeah.
It likes it good and wet down there.
Oh
huh?
yeah, it's got to be moist. Of course, the ground is pretty moist anyway, so I don't think I have to worry about too much water.
And we always hear that roses like full sun, but those roses aren't getting any sun.
No, because they're more interested right now in getting a root system started. Once they get that root system started, then they start growing.
Yeah.
But there's enough light in there. It's not totally
Yeah,
dark.
yeah, and you don't want it to bloom anyway.
No, I don't. One thing about roses you've got to think about. You start with roots, then you go to leaves, and finally blooms.
Mm-hmm.
If you buy a potted rose bush, it's got blooms on it.
Yeah.
You want to take those blooms off. Why? Is because you want that root system to get established first.
I see.
And all the energy of the plant's going to go into
Yeah.
blooming.
So keep knocking the buds off until you know that thing's
Yeah.
good and settled. Okay, that's good advice.
And then also I would put some mulch around the canes to stop the wind from drying the canes out, because the root system is not real strong yet. And all the wind blowing through there zaps all the moisture away from the plant. So I'd put some mulch around it just to give it a start. And then eventually you'll see it growing, then you can pull the mulch away.
Yeah. Terrific. Thank you. Jim Westbecker, I can see why people admire roses the way they do. Enough, in fact, to join a local rose society. I get it. There's nothing like that, is there?
Yeah, no, once you see them in bloom, it's a beautiful sight.
Now, you have been in this, the Decatur Rose Society for, what, like 10 years maybe?
Yeah, probably about 8. We chartered, my wife and I were part of the original members, charter members.
Yeah.
There was about 8. It takes 10 to charter, and we had a couple friends from other societies join so we could start it and get our charter.
You live in Lincoln?
In Lincoln.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know how much property you have, but the nice thing about roses is you don't need a lot of property, do you?
No, there's people that have hundreds of roses and they're all growing in pots.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not even in the ground.
Yeah, yeah.
They're in their backyard. They have benches set up and they grow them in pots.
As we walk up the way here, I asked if you would show me some tea roses, and this is the part of Dan's collection where he has the tea roses. Now, except for that tall climbing white one there, I think everything we're going to see in this corner of the yard are tea roses.
He said that was a hybrid perpetual, he said.
Hybrid perpetual.
Yeah.
And I guess that wants to be near a fence, doesn't it?
Yeah. It gets pretty vigorous. They're the old species roses.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the rest of these are tea roses.
Tea
and boy,
roses.
so every color under the sun.
Yeah.
How did you get started? Why did you get started growing roses?
Oh, shortly after we got married, we bought a few and got bit by the bug, and then it's like once you have one, 10's not too many, and then suddenly 20, 30.
But there is a certain amount of care involved, isn't there?
There is care, but you know, people say, well, I can't grow roses, and I ask them, can you grow tomatoes? Can you grow flowers? Well, yeah. Well, anything you grow takes care if you want to grow and have nice, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody can stick a tomato plant out there and not do anything to it. You'll get tomatoes, but they're full of bugs or whatever.
Right. Everything takes some
care.
Now, our destination here, these are all tea roses. Our destination is this single bloom pink one. I know it's one of your favorites because it's kind of unusual.
Dainty Bess. It is a hybrid tea.
That's what it's called, Dainty Bess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a hybrid tea, but it's a single bloom.
And it's an unusual color too.
Yeah, it's a nice pink. When it's fresh, those are really sticks out. And they make nice sprays.
Yeah, I think I'd like to get a cutting off that. That's a really unusual the way the single bloom is.
Single bloom, yeah.
It's gorgeous. Thanks, Jim.
And just the wide range of colors you got in roses are something that.
Okay, if you're going to grow and show roses, you have to have certain equipment in the garage, right? This is what a rose grower's garage looks like.
Because I don't have the room in the house, and my wife would kill me.
First thing you do is you go out in the garden with your little 6-pack or 8-pack carrier here, and you got your little water bottles. They can be plastic, or they can be.
I put the rose in it.
They can be a glass like that, right? And you go and you take your cuttings. Right now, we're going to a show now.
Okay.
Right. This is what we're doing. You're going to cut the most beautiful buds or most beautiful flowers that you can find. Right. What did you find here?
This is iceberg.
Iceberg. Okay. And what type of rose is it?
It is a floribunda.
Floribunda.
But
so that could grow in clusters.
A single.
Yeah, a single.
Grows in clusters.
And what will happen is when you're in growing season and showing season here, you've got these 3, count them, 1, 2, 3 massive coolers, and they might all be full of rose cuttings, right?
At the Illinois State Fair, I don't have any more room because I'll take over 150 roses to the Illinois State Fair.
No kidding. And the point is you get them in the cool as fast as you can. How long can a rose stay in a refrigerator?
4 days probably maximum. So if I got a good bloom on Tuesday and the show's Friday, you know, I'll be okay.
You feel pretty good about it.
So I start looking at the calendar and checking the blooms.
In fact, this early in the season, you've got shows coming up in June, don't you?
I've got one next Friday at the Macon County Fair. In fact, I'm the floriculture superintendent for the Macon County Fair.
And you can still show as the superintendent.
But I can still show because I'm not a judge.
Good.
And it's just blank entry tickets. Nobody knows whose rose it is. And it's Dave Robson from the U of I over in Springfield, or over in Champaign now, is going to be judging it. He's excellent.
Let's take a look in this cooler. Now this cooler looks like it was built to be a freezer, but you have it rigged up so it'll just...
This is brand new last year.
There's nothing in it now, but there will be, won't there?
It's a nice, deep freezer, but I'm not running it as a freezer. I'll put this bloom down here. And I'll close the door.
Yeah, and there might be dozens in there.
There
when
could
you're
be,
ready.
because with this higher shelf here, I'll put like the miniatures, because I put them in cups like this, and then I'll have 3 or 4 in a cup, and then I'll just set it right there on the shelf.
Everywhere you look around in this garage, you see bottles, plastic bottles, glass bottles. Look on top of the old Philco over there, more bottles. You must be a bottle collector too.
Well, they were donated to me because I don't drink what's in them.
Well, somebody's helping you out.
Yes, my neighbors help me out.
You know, it's a good cause to drink a little beer and then give you the bottles, you know.
But why this freezer is not freezing the roses is because of this thermostat. I've got this freezer plugged into this digital thermostat, and it controls the temperature of the freezer.
What's the best temperature?
I like to keep it at 38 degrees.
38, and you can keep them up to 4 days. And then when they get to the fair, then they got to be judged. They can't be keeping them another 2 days.
They judge them pretty rapidly. Now, like at a Macon County Fair or an Illinois State Fair. Illinois State Fair it's Rose Day. It's on Wednesday.
It's 1 day.
Yeah. And the Macon County Fair, they have different classes as well, as like petunias and geraniums and stuff like that. But they judge the roses first.
On one day.
Because of the heat, roses can move fairly fast. So they always judge the roses first and then go to the other flowers.
Very interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're in a part of the rose garden that we have not seen yet. This is a corner of the garden that goes clear around the back of the yard. And we're flanking this gorgeous pink, I guess it's a bush, isn't it?
Yeah.
A rose bush. What's it called?
Carefree Beauty. It's a shrub.
It's a shrub. Is it called, is it really Carefree?
Yes, it is. I don't do very much with it at all, and it's a pretty tough plant, and you could just about put it out somewhere and just walk away from it and not do anything.
You haven't showed this plant yet.
No, I haven't.
But you're holding some blooms there that look like they might do pretty well.
Yeah, they would. Although this one here in the middle is falling apart, but I haven't been able to get out here to print it.
Yeah, they're gorgeous. You know, it takes a certain amount of technical work and logging to do this. I'm holding the diagram of the garden, of the bed that we're in right now. And Carefree Beauty's in here. Here it is, right there in the corner, as with all the other roses that are in here. And not only do you diagram every plant and every bed that you have, but you also have certain results of each of these. And Carefree Beauty is one of the shrub roses. And just so I can, you've got notes here next to it, MP.
Medium pink.
Medium pink. 1977.
That was bred.
It was bred. 8.6.
That's the rating that the American Rose Society gives of how good the rose is out of a 10-point scale.
On a 10 scale. 15 to 20 P.
Petals.
Petals, okay. And it says Peoria, 2007.
I got it from our sister club up in Peoria, and they have a rose sale every year. That's their fundraiser, and that's where I bought it from.
And you've got a record like this on every plant
yes, I do.
that you have.
465 of them.
It's remarkable. Well, listen, thank you so much for inviting us out.
You are
It's been
sure
a real
welcome.
treat. Okay. As Dan says, 465 roses just on this property. And the season is just beginning. It's going to be busy. With another Illinois Story in Decatur, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send 1995 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.